because you're scared. It's just the way you're identifying and the way you're categorizing the threat.
Yeah, and sometimes maybe it's okay to realize maybe it will knock me out. You know, that's your worst case.
Yeah.
And if you can accept the worst case, then it's free. It's freeing almost. It's like, okay, well, this is the worst thing that can happen. There's a possibility it'll happen, but accept it and then just go forward, you know.
100%. And the chances of it happening will decrease if I accept that it can happen.
Yeah.
And we're seeing early action out of Elias Egozi. He's been fancying those low inside kicks. Now, some of those kicks could be probably set up a little bit better to avoid those strong counter shots that we've spoken to earlier, but Kurt also hasn't thrown anything off of it yet, maybe just gathering that intel this early in the fight.
Yeah, both guys are kind of throwing naked kicks right now. I'd like to see him put hands in front.
And that's exactly what Coach Jordan Totoni just instructed to Kurt Smith, is to get his jab going. Elias is using his distance well, though.
Yeah, very well.
You kind of see a welt on Kurt's right side here. One of those body kicks from Egozi.
You know, when you are somebody who believes you may have a grappling advantage, like Kurt may believe that, we got to get to that, right? We got to, as simple as that sounds, but to do that, you got to move forward. But now you get the chance. Your opponent has chosen to engage in this way, and now you're going to get the chance to show that.
Yeah, he's chosen for you, you know.
Yeah.
Egozi's in deep on a single leg.
The thing is, if your game plan, if you feel like you're the stronger grappler, you have to enter the fire to get there, you know. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do.
But if that's what he wanted, we've seen actually guys commit a lot to the Kimura here, and it was something people were getting away from for a while. But you're seeing the guys go back to it, and look, he's got something here.
Yeah, he needs to be a little bit lower on the elbow here. Yeah. He's tight there. He needs to roll to it a little bit, and then he needs to clear it past the knee.
Mm-hmm.
How much wrenching, just in those straight arm moments where he does sequence out from time to time, how much wear and tear is that potentially doing on the elbow of Egozi?
Right here, he's good. I mean,
okay.
There's not too much pressure. When it gets straight, there's a little pressure, but until he passes the knee, see how the hand's tucked?
Yep.
If he can get past the knee, there'll be real pressure, real threat. He'll have to roll through, or Kurt can try to take his back here.
And he's trying to literally just clear it through the hole, which is real cool, actually. Often guys will use their own body and drag it. Move you with the arm attached to you.
Yeah, a lot of guys use it just to create a scramble. You know, Kurt was going for a finish there. A lot of guys will use it to create a scramble to get to their feet. You got to be careful on the break here with strikes, you know.
Kicks.
10 seconds left in the round. You have Egozi with the body clinch up against the fence. You have Kurt, who jumped the neck for a slight second there. Overall, a very strong first round for Elias Egozi.
Yep.
Yeah, he was able to dictate pace. He was able to implement his game plan for sure. You know, Kurt was hesitant to engage, really, and that allowed Egozi to get his confidence going and close the distance, get to his takedown. You know, not a ton of action, but that's how you win a fight. Like we said, it's a sport. Yep. How do you win the sport?
What do I
have to do?
Yeah.
And it's always interesting to see how some fighters approach their time in between rounds. Right now, we have almost a Buddhist Indian-style seating technique going on from Elias Egozi. Some guys choose to stand. Some guys, like Alexei Oleinik, like to lay on their back with their legs in the air. You see anything and everything out there, whatever works for you.
And in the future, you'll see more things. People will express that minute in their own ways, you know. There's no right answer except for the one that's going to work for you best. There are some technical things that will be able to help you breathe in different ways. There'll be physical effects, but the most important thing is what's going to work for you. And you're going to learn that over time. Oh! He really digested that shot.
Yeah, and sometimes that's good. You feel the power, and you're like, okay, I can handle that. I can deal with it.
Right hand again by Egozi. Kurt is trying to find his way with those blended entries, and a little bit better, though, now this time. And a strong overhand with a takedown for Kurt Diesel Smith right there. Egozi trying to work that high guard.
Not that long ago, people would just fake the overhand and go down. Now you land the overhand and go down. Yeah. And it's not that long ago, you know.
Yeah, it's huge. Now they're throwing the right hand and stepping through with the left.
Yeah. And then now on the flip side, you saw that strong wrist strike from Egozi to Kurt Smith.
There's a triangle work going on, and he's got his feet crossed.
Look, he's almost in like a teepee choke here.
Yep. extending.
Kurt's doing a good job of
Yeah,
stacking him. I think he's going to be all right and pass here. Kurt needs to keep the head pressure, though. He needs to get under his chin and keep his head on the cage and just cook here. You don't have to get a finish here. You just need to cook, win the position, win the minutes.
Yep.
And then you can do damage when the guy's tired and he's gassed and he's more willing to accept the position.
And you know, presumably he lost the first round. So you got to win this round.
Yeah, for sure.
And, of course, the best way to win the round is finish the fight. No more. We've protected ourselves. We've won the fight. But you're not necessarily going to do that if you rush.
Right.
Now, one thing, we saw him start to set it up, and then he went away from it once it presented some resistance. But Kurt Smith is very well-versed in those arm-in chokes. So if that starts to make itself any bit of possibility from that front headlock position, look for him to try to look toward those darces, anacondas, and arm-in guillotine chokes.
Elias goes all the way to the back, ear on spine here.
He's going to go for a trip here in the back. Kurt needs to fight the hands.
He's just trying to drag.
Yep.
His corner's saying knee the thighs, and he's kneeing the thighs.
Stay busy.
Yep.
Like you said, win the minutes.
Yep.
Continuing to score throughout the time of this somewhat stalemate, if you will.
Well, that's the thing is, you know, especially in an amateur fight, you're talking about 3-minute rounds. You got to stay busy.
Mm-hmm.
You lose 1 minute, and you could lose the round potentially.
Sure.
So it's different than a pro round in terms of time. You know, with a 5-minute round, I could lose 2 minutes of a round and come back and win the round. In an amateur fight, I lose 2 minutes of the round. Good chances I lost the round. Kurt needs to go. He needs to stop trying to fight hands inside. He needs to go right elbow through here.
He's really, and he's going to turn him using that threat, straight armbar Kimura threat.
He's so committed to it, though, that he's almost giving up position. You know, he was out there, and he's so committed to that Kimura that he gives up the takedown. And that's a hard position to finish from standing. You know, it's
very hard position from standing right there. You know, you would have to think that at this stage, Kurt Smith needs to finish in this third round.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And they'll tell him. They'll tell him. And he should know.
Yeah.
And if you're Elias, you know, we're going to be smart. We're going to move. Let him come to us. Touch him up.
Yeah.
Keep him outside. Touch him up. And let 2 minutes of that go by, and you're going to win this fight.
Yeah, for sure. That's the thing, you know, you got to figure out where in the line, you know, if you get into a dominant position, go for the finish, but you don't need to force anything here because you're winning the fight, you know. Don't put yourself in a compromising position trying to get a finish when you're winning.
And I just watched the physical language of his coach, and you could see him making the motion of moving around with his hand. He was like lateral movement, circular movement.
Then that's also, as you mentioned, it's a great learning point for someone like Elias who is potentially up 2 rounds. How do you then manage yourself throughout the remainder of that contest?
You know, you don't want to get too defensive, right? Because that's when you get knocked out, that's when you get hurt. But you don't want to be so over-aggressive trying to go get a finish that you put yourself in a compromising position. It's a hard game to play because you don't. You're so but you're also trying to. You're also in the process of. I've had 3 amateur fights. I'm still trying to figure out what kind of fighter I am and what my skills are and where I want to be. And it's tough to do all that and be like, okay, but I'm winning and I have all these extra thoughts, you know.
Yeah. You'll hear coaches often will tell him, a guy in this situation, a young guy, they'll just say, be smart but win the round. Even though you've won, a coach will often prefer you to try to still continue to win the minutes rather than let's not get knocked out. That's terrible advice.
Yeah.
Coach, I'm not trying to get knocked out. Like, you know, and so I think I heard that from his coach too. Like, we're just be smart, win the round.
Just kind of do what you've been doing, you know. It's been working and
that was a great blend to get that takedown right there by Kurt Smith. He's thrown that jab overhand a couple of times, and then he was able to use that to set up that takedown opportunity to create the space for him to get inside of Egozi right there.
You're right. He landed the overhand twice in the first minute and a half, which is great. Now he's got something. But we're quickly going to be down to the last minute of this fight.
If you're Kurt, you need to bait this head and arm right here. You see Egozi trying to work this. I would let him pass that arm through.
Yep.
Now he's holding the head. But look, when he tries to pass that arm through, let him pass the arm through and go to head and arm.
Coach Titoni from the blue corner is calling for damage from his fighter, Kurt Smith, from
Yeah.
this position.
Good advice.
It's a good position for Kurt to be in right now, even in full guard with him stacked over the top, eyes over eyes to Elias, with Elias's head pressed up against the fence.
Using that cage is big here. You know, you want to make the spine bend. You want to make it so he can't have power. You know, you see his hips are off the mat. He doesn't have power in his hips, and his head's bent, so he doesn't have power through his back either.
Yeah. The spine is almost in traction and is being, compressed.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's weak, right?
Yeah.
You're physically weaker in this situation.
And you feel that. You feel like, I can't get my explosiveness. I can't power through, and I'm getting hit. And all those things are tough to deal with.
And when Kurt's coaches are asking for damage, maybe you'll hurt him and finish it, but you'll also get him to move. You'll force him to move.
Maybe you'll find a submission. You know, you're not going to find a submission though just hanging out on top. Especially when he's smart. He knows he's winning the fight, you know.
But good experience for Kurt, whether he can finish here or not, for him to go through this one. He's going to look for it, but no, 10 seconds is not going to be enough time here. So Elias, who had a great fight, great first couple of rounds, might be able to take this one. It'll depend.
Yeah.
And that's where it's something that's important to note, that we do follow the unified rule set and the 10-point must system here. So it's not scored in totality, ladies and gentlemen watching at home who may not be familiar with the scoring format. These fights are scored on a round-by-round basis, whereas in the past, if you were an old-school fan, you got to see in the Pride FC days where a fight was scored in its totality.
Yeah.
It's just a completely different ballgame now.
Right.
And it's sort of just how it happened, right? Like, what would be better? It doesn't really matter what would be better. This is what you compete in, right?
Yeah.
You compete, you accept the reality of the world that you're competing in, and that's the reality of it. And you'll hear people often will say, I would have won that fight if. Yeah, but you're not in that fight.
Right.
You're in this fight. We must win with the assignment.
Yeah, it was a good fight. You know, it's going to be interesting to see the scoring because I think the second round was close. I'm obviously biased and a homer. I'll admit it right now. It's my teammate.
Yep.
But Egozi looked great, man. He had great wrestling. He kept distance on the feet. When he was on the bottom, he wasn't ever put in a bad position, you know.
I think it all comes down to how you score that second round. That was definitely the swing round that we had there, Cody. I think Kurt takes the third. Elias strongly takes the first.
And we'll see for the second. But it was a great fight either way.
Because it could very
if you're
definitely
Kurt Smith, you leave this fight feeling, okay, I might have lost the fight, but I gave it everything I had in that third round. I went for the finish. I tried to progress. And you feel good about that.
Yes.
You know, you made improvements, and that's what, like we said, all night. That's
Kurt
what
put himself in the
amateurs
fire
is
a lot in the third round. Like, it's all good experience for both these guys. Elias was pushed.
Yeah.
You know, like, this was a great...
potentially found a way to win in a tough fight.
Yep.
You know, it's
Potentially,
So this stuff it's just important for both guys, and we'll see.
Invaluable experience.
29-28. Declaring your winner, fighting out of the red corner.